Yan na, sayang di tayo dumaan sa US border. Sa kabila yung US eh.
Hulihin ka ron.
May harang. Baka tayo magulis. Doon sa kabilang way yung US border. Diretso, hindi na tayo. Ayan na po kami sa may water doon. Park, lapit na. Sa kabilang way po yung kanina yung US border. Mahaba pa na ng US border. Sa kabilang way. Uy, sunog na. Parang nasunog to.
Hindi, nag-yan. Nag-heat wave yan.
Pili din pala to ng bundok. May kabahayan yan.
Meron nga, di ba? Pupunta natin.
Mahaba. Yung lake water. Yan po. Papunta kami ng water doon. Napakahaba. Sa ano. Walang katapos ang kalsa. Sabi ka na. Hindi ko kayang i-drive to. Patuloy ko. Bakit tayo polluted dito. Kalsad. Napapaligiran na naman pala tayo ng bundok eh. Oh. Ayan. Napapaligiran na naman kami ng bundok.
Yan ang model natin, oh.
Nasa tuktok ng bundok.
Ayan.
Hindi ko nga nakikita
Ayun,
eh.
oh.
Ayan.
Yung kulay green na yun.
Wow. Unang-una. Sa gitna ng bundok. Wala ko. Red Rock. Canyon. Ito pala dito. Dito yung ibang town. Matiyak. Pangalan. Mali na naman ako.
Route recalculation.
Sa booking.com. Sa ano yan? Basor.
Route recalculation.
Hindi. Doon ako pinapupuna sa kan, eh. Yun ang pinaka-kan na lang.
Yung town. Waterton na to. I don't know.
Route recalculation.
Ganda daw ng Gagazon City.
Ayan na, oh. Sabi ko, yun na nga yung hotel natin, eh. Ang ganda, sabi sa'yo, maganda, eh. Parang Fairmount Hotel, eh.
Parang hari.
Ayun pa yung isa yung yung mahalan.
Oo.
Parang hindi naman ah.
Hindi,
Wala
yun
namang,
yun.
wala namang
Prince
Prince
of, yun,
na.
yun yung Prince of Wales na hotel.
Prince of Wales, dyan tayo sa gitna ng bundok. Sa tuktok ng bundok.
Yun yung mahalan. Tayo, resort lang.
Ayun yung mahal.
Oh, yan yung 200.
Yan yung inanahan natin.
Yun yung 200.
Binayaran
Bay
natin.
Shore, eh.
Ah, yung labas niya, yung ano. Ganda. Sa mukha ko nilalagay mo eh. Oh, baligdarin mo nga yun.
Adi kung ipaligtad mo, show mo naman nila. Skipin mo.
Ano ka ba? Pinibidyoan ko nga. Hi! We're here po in Waterton.
Sige, mahuli Yung cellphone mo dyan.
Ay, ang init.
Napanood mo.
Maantar ba tayo siya?
Ha? Nakantar na tayo.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see all of your smiling faces behind your masks. And again, just remind everybody to please keep their masks on at all times. The duration of the cruise, out of respect for everybody else on the boat. Welcome. Welcome to Alberta Lakes National
Pwede mo
Park.
dito. Ayun o.
Welcome to a most beautiful day here
Balik
in this
ka.
national park. Fantastic views in every direction. As we leave the Waterton Marina behind us, take a look off the left side. Beautiful view of
Picturean mo
the
yun, oh.
Prince of Wales Hotel.
Prince of Wales Hotel.
Big old historic structure built back in 1926, opened in 1927. And then off the right hand side, looking ahead of us, that's looking more or less due south to the headwaters of the Waterton Lakes chain, and that's the direction we're going to be traveling. I will try to turn the mic up a little bit, but again, those of you in the very back row might have a little bit of difficulty hearing me. We've been having some issues with our PA system. I apologize for that. But here we go, headed out for a 1.25 hour cruise. I can't think of anything better to do on a hot summer afternoon like this. We get out on the water and there's just enough of a breeze out on the water to make things a little more cool and comfortable. No matter which seat you are on the boat, whether you're top side, out of the back, or inside the main cabin, here at the side from the windows, all the windows are open. And we get a little bit of a breeze blowing through here. It'll make things as comfortable as you will find on a day like this. But we only get like 10 nice days of this sort every single year, so you're not allowed to complain about it. Okay, that's my only rule. You can't complain about nice weather because there's not enough of it to go around in Waterton Lakes National Park. But as we begin our journey heading south, I am required by law, by Transport Canada, to tell you briefly about the safety features found on board this vessel. The Miss Waterton here, that's the name of the tour boat. And it is licensed through Transport Canada, certified to carry 125 passengers under normal operating conditions. Now obviously these are anything but normal operating conditions, and so we're effectively operating at less than 50% capacity, trying to do our best to keep physical distancing between every group on board. But we still have the full complement of safety features on this vessel. We have 128 adult life jackets, 13 infant life jackets, located underneath all the seats here on the main level.
Ay, tatay.
We have
Hi, Kuya.
life rings on both levels of the boat as well. Those of you on the top deck, life rings, or pardon me, life jackets are located at the front of the upper deck. In the life jacket locker in the command bridge. We have all kinds of firefighting equipment on board the vessel. What else do we have? We have first aid equipment up here at the wheel. We have a fire axe at the back of the boat. What you would do with a fire axe on a plastic fiberglass boat like this, your guess is as good as mine. And we've got two big white barrels on the top deck. You may have noticed those when you first stepped aboard. And each one of those is a 75-person self-inflating life raft. So if the unthinkable were to happen in our boat cruise today, and if for some reason we had to abandon ship, we would deploy one of those life rafts. It would roll off the top deck, bursting over that white shell, self-inflating automatically, turning into a large rubber lifeboat. We would then safely and calmly step on board the life raft, get the paddles out, and continue on with the tour as normal. because we want to make sure you feel like you get your money's worth here today, after all. But in all seriousness, we do have your safety concerns well looked after. We have two on board. The captain here at the wheel is Captain Jeremy. And it's Captain Jeremy. He's a homegrown local, born and raised here in Waterton Lakes National Park. He has been a captain certified through Transport Canada for many years now. He's been piloting this vessel safely up and down the lake thousands of times. So he'll take good care of us as we cruise around the lake. My name is Keith. Keith, for those of you that cannot see me, I'm the one that collected your ticket as you walked down the pier. Myself, I am a professionally certified interpretive guide with the Interpretive Guides Association, so I will be acting with your tour guide as we cruise around the lake today. And just like Jeremy, I too was born and raised here in Waterton Lakes National Park. One of the locals to the area, and in fact I am one of the few locals that reside here all year round. And so with that in mind, today I want to give you the local's perspective, and certainly a local's appreciation for this beautiful, beautiful national park. And I hope to do that by making this tour a little more informal, and certainly a lot more personable than other tours you may have been on in the past. I do not have a script or a speech that I will rattle off for you here today. Talk about some of the noteworthy features as we pass by them, but just as importantly, make myself available to you. If you have any questions, anything you're wondering about, a particular topic of interest that you have, you'd like to learn a little more about, please ask. Okay, you can either shout out a question or you can wave your hand, grab my attention, catch my eye. I'll always put the mic down, come back, see what's on your mind, and then return to the PA system and elaborate for everyone. And at other times on a beautiful day like this, I will probably put the microphone down from time to time and let the scenery do the talking. Because I figure that scenery can do just as good a job as I could ever hope to do. But you notice here off the left side how close to the shoreline we are able to get, and this is typical of our cruise around the lake. We'll stay nice and close to water's edge, hugging the shoreline so that we are well positioned in case we spot some wildlife. That's why we stay close to shore, looking for critters. So I encourage all of you to keep your eyes peeled. Watch for wild animals. And if you see something, make sure to let us know. Okay, point at it, shout out, wave your arms, tell me what you see, and we will do our best to try to slow the boat down, and if possible, go in for an even closer look and a good photo opportunity.
Daming hayop dyan ah. Saan? Wala. Wala naman hayop makita.
And just to give you an idea, some of the critters that we do see from the boat. Well, earlier today we saw the bald eagle. We have a nesting pair of bald eagle on the lake. The nest is almost right down at the south end of the lake, coincidentally located right near Goat Horn Ranger Station in the United States of America. And on calm days like this, the bald eagle can often be seen perched in the trees, growing along the shoreline. They also can be seen soaring effortlessly overhead above the tour boat. We've had a few black bear sightings in the last couple of days.
Laglag yan.
A good chance to see bears. We have both black and grizzly bears here in the area, but our chances of seeing a black bear is much greater than seeing a grizzly, and that's simply because of the bear species preference for habitat. Black bears prefer the lower montane forests, everything down here around lake level elevation, which is 1,280 meters above sea level, in case you're curious. The grizzlies, on the other hand, prefer higher elevations. They like the subalpine and the alpine ecoregions. In other words, the midway point right up to the tops of the mountain peaks. But that's not to say the grizzlies won't come down to low elevations. I've had grizzly bears walk through my front yard in the Waterton town site before. I've been on the boat and seen grizzly bears actually swim across the lake, from one side of the lake to the other. And while that doesn't happen every single boat cruise, it does happen a lot more often than you might imagine. I'd say on average, about a dozen times a year, the tour boat is in the right place at the right time to see a bear swim across the lake.
Okay.
We see a lot of the ungulate species, like the mule deer. Mind you, we will not stop the boat for mule deer, because all you have to do, I think, is walk around the Waterton town site, don't you? They're everywhere in town. The deer walking down Main Street, hanging out in all the local cabins, front yards, all over the place. Some of the other ungulates, the Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, and the mountain goats. You spot both of those, but generally this time of the year they are higher elevation as well. They go up and spend the summer months in the tops of the mountain peaks in search of food sources that are available only during the summer months before the snows begin to fly in the fall. The mountain sheep, or the Rocky Mountain bighorns, those are the ones that are a light brown, kind of a tan in color, and the males or the rams develop those full curling set of horns. Those horns curl right around the side of their head as they age. The mountain goats, on the other hand, are snow white in color.
Oh, yeah.
Short, spiky, jet black horns poking straight up out of the tops of their heads. Here we've got some wildlife off the left-hand side,
Lag yan.
the two-legged kind, the scientific name Homo sapiens.
Ayun doon.
Rather gregarious species, quite long-lived, generally speaking, relative to a lot of the other mammals.
Ah.
This is a boat dock called Crypt Landing.
Ah.
That's Crypt Landing, the trailhead, the starting point for Waterton's preeminent hiking trail, the Crypt Lake Hike. And our company offers a hiker shuttle. We take folks over every morning at 9 a.m. We drop people off. They go hiking all day long. The trail takes them way up into the valley between the two mountains here off our left-hand side.
Lag yan.
8-kilometer one-way journey. Gains 700 meters in elevation. So it is a little bit of a workout. It's a little bit of a grunt, but it's worth the effort. It's worth the exertion. National Geographic has ranked the Crypt Lake hike as one of the world's 20 most thrilling hikes anywhere on the planet, because there's a few obstacles that hikers have to traverse before they get to Crypt Lake. At one point, they are confronted with a 4-meter tall steel ladder that's bolted right into a rock face. You climb up that ladder, and then you have to crouch down and scurry your way through a natural tunnel that extends right through the side of the mountain. That tunnel is about the length of the boat here. After that, you come out of the far end of the tunnel, hop down onto a ledge, and here you have to navigate your way around a cliff face, walking on a ledge, about as wide as the aisleway here on the boat. Like a narrow city sidewalk. Steel cable bolted into the cliff face. You can hold onto that cable, work your way around the cliff, and then you are home free to Crypt Lake. How does that sound, everybody? Some of you see you nodding your heads, thumbs up, you're thinking right on. Others, I can see you definitely shaking your heads back and forth. No way, not a chance. It's really not that bad. If you're worried about the ledge or those obstacles, really not that bad. I think I make it sound worse than it actually is. The cliff isn't like a straight down cliff. You know, it kind of juts out a little bit first and then goes straight down. So you bounce at least 4 or 5 times before you... No, I'm just kidding. In recorded history, nobody has ever been injured up on any of those obstacles. People take their pets up there, pet dogs go up there all the time. People take their children. I think the first time I was ever, my parents took me up to Crypt Lake, I was like 7 years old. And my kid brother and I, we used to play tag on that cliff. We'll take full credit for the fact that my father has had gray hair for decades now, but it is worthwhile. If you're interested in hiking, if you like to get out there and explore the backcountry on your own 2 feet, definitely worth consideration for the future. You've got the chance.
Daming hayop dyan. Maraming hayop dyan. Tago na dyan.
This is Hellroaring Creek on the left-hand side, and this drains from the Crypt Lake. So again, that Crypt Lake Trail goes way into the back of the valley and wraps around the backside of the mountains. And all this gravel at the mouth of Hellroaring Creek here, this is called an alluvial fan, or floodplain. And that landmass slowly grows year after year. Every spring, when all of the meltwaters come flushing out of the high mountain valleys, bring all that fresh snow melt out, all sorts of gravel and rock and debris gets carried out in that water and deposited right at the mouth of the creek. The Waterton town site is also built on an alluvial fan. And in fact, anywhere you see a creek or a stream flowing into this lake, you'll see one of those gravel deposits.
Doon lang siya. Oh. Ay, ayun lang siya. Yung tubig hanggang dyan lang. Kailangan pag-web. Ayun lang siya. Parang wala ka naman makitang kuweba na.
Saan?
Yung mga butas ng kuweba.
Wala ko lang kayo po dyan.
Saan lang sila natutulog yung mga hayop? Sa mga baba lang. Okay, pagpasok ko, dyan lang pala sa gilid, no?
Malalim siguro yun eh siya, ano?
Siguro.
Dagat yun.
Ayan.
Pupulot yun. Yan.
Lalim.
Malalim dito. Pag may nakita ka na, may nakita ka na
Wala, hindi yung makinig mo. Wala na yung tennis ko. Sabi ko, dadali ko na. Kabila yata ito, border na yun.
Oo.
How's everybody doing so far? Enjoying yourselves? All right, excellent. He's staying relatively close to the shore. That's because the shoreline drops off very quickly in most places. A hop, a skip, and a jump off the shore, and you would be well over your head in water.
Malamig dito.
Average depth on this upper Waterton Lake here is 80 meters. 80 meters on
80
average.
meters.
And the deep spot just up ahead of us, out in the middle of the lake here off the right-hand side, and the official sounding there, 138 meters, making this the deepest natural lake in all of the Canadian Rockies.
Malamig dito.
Steep-sided, deep, cold, glacier-fed lake. This entire lake basin was carved out by glaciers in the past, as were all the mountains. All those beautiful rugged mountain vistas we have, all thanks to past glacial activity.
Ayun, minto.
And here you're going to see a real interesting perspective on some of these cliffs straight ahead of us. We're not actually on a collision course, but Captain Jeremy's going to slow the boat down, come broadside to the cliff, and you'll be able to marvel how steep and rugged these cliffs
Marble
are,
yan.
and the fact that they literally plunge straight down to the bottom of the lake.
Oo.
1 meter from that cliff face, there is over 30 meters of water straight down.
Ang alin.
Yung platform.
And this is almost exclusively sedimentary rock that we're looking at here. Anybody interested in geology at all? So, not too much? Okay. We won't get too heavy into geology here today. I don't want to put anybody to sleep. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but we'll just mention briefly that this is sedimentary rock, basically ancient compressed muds, sand, silt,
Ayan na,
debris.
mainit na.
And you'll notice the layering in the rock.
Kitulok mo
Most
muna
of
lang
it
yan.
tilting up on about a 40-degree
Mauusin
angle,
po mo, ha? Hindi
except
na
for a
makukuha.
particular formation directly off the back of the boat at the moment. It almost looks like the letter V followed by the letter A. That V shape, A shaped fold in the rock there, the V shape is called a syncline. The A shape, an anticline. And when taken as a whole, looking at the entire series of folds there, that has the characteristics of what's referred to as a chevron fold.
Galing ah.
A chevron fold. Huge amounts of pressure would have been exerted on that rock to get it to buckle and fold like it has there without it actually cracking and breaking apart.
Hirapan yan mag-break na.
But not so much pressure would have been exerted that that rock would have been technically metamorphosed. Okay, that's still sedimentary rock that we're looking at there.
Pag yung pagkan lumilid doon, pag gumagalaw yung
Bago na yan. Rock na yan.
And also notice some of the vegetation growing on these rock faces here. You notice some of the olive green colored mosses, the shrubs, a few little wildflowers, and even a few handfuls of trees that appear to be growing almost right out of bare rock. When you think about it, it's pretty impressive what Mother Nature is capable of, isn't it? I mean, how many of you back home have tried to plant something in the yard? A garden, yeah. You plant something, you feed it, you water it, you give it fertilizer, you've nicknamed everything in the garden, you tell it bedtime stories, half of it still dies no matter what you do.
Bakit ba?
And then you come out here to a place like this, look at some of these trees, literally growing right out of the rock, it seems. Well, they're not actually growing out of the rock because there is soil there in some of those cracks and crevices. And that soil accumulates thanks to the orange color that you may have noticed on the rock there. That orange color is not actually the rock itself, but a living organism called lichen. And lichen is one of the first living organisms to begin to grow on bare rock. And over the course of its life cycle, that lichen, when it interacts with rain, it produces a mild carbonic acid. And that acid starts to break down the rock around the lichen colony, to the point where slowly over time, a very thin, fine layer of soil starts to accumulate in the cracks and the crevices. And as more time passes, more soil accumulates, more debris, more material, and eventually there's enough to sustain the root systems of some of the other vegetation types.
Pabalik na to. Ikutin pa. Nanap ko yung plug ng US.
Wala pa.
Malayo na. Yun yung bahay. Ang laki.
And so here we're passing through the narrow section of the lake. This is essentially the midway point. And again, somewhere down beneath us now is that deep spot, 148 meters. So don't drop your car keys. Beautiful views once again off either side of the boat. Looking back behind us off the right, you can look all the way back to the north to the town site of Waterton and the Prince of Wales Hotel, still with that commanding view on the hilltop. And then ahead of us off the left, looking south towards the heart of Glacier National Park. Some of the most pristine and rugged mountain scenery that the entire International Peace Park has to offer, I think.
Nakita mo ba yun, no? Siya?
Alin?
Ayun, nakita mo ba yun?
Ano yun?
Ayun.
Ano yun? Moon?
Yung moon.
O, moon lang. Wala nga ako makita lang ano eh. Kabila nito, US border na.
Here's kind of an interesting photo opportunity. Captain Jeremy just pointed it out to me off the left-hand side. Straight off our left side, we've got that mountain in the background, in the back of the valley with the red ridge. That is Mount Mishawaban. And then up above that, we've got our first quarter moon visible.
Yeah.
Sa moon.
Tonight is actually the first quarter moon.
First quarter moon.
Ayun, ayun. Kasi yung buwan na yun.
Ayun na.
Got a good camera.
Isang
Snap a
mo.
photo of that. That's kind of neat. That moon will make its way across the sky overhead and set in the west sometime between 11:30 and midnight tonight, I think. And when that happens, you'll want to be outside to look up at the night sky. Waterton Lakes National Park, in conjunction with Glacier Park, Montana, to the south, 3 years ago, were named the world's first transnational international dark sky park. We were given dark sky status because this is a phenomenal place to go stargazing at night. Little to no artificial light pollution here in the area. What artificial light pollution there is restricted to the Waterton town site. And so if you walk to the south end of town, away from the street lights, you get a nice view. Even better yet, get a little ways outside of the town after dark. Look up at the night sky, and especially if you wait until the moon has set, so that moon glow disappears and doesn't overshadow everything else, you will really see the stars like I almost guarantee you can't see back at home. I was out last night looking at the night sky, saw Jupiter and Saturn and Mars. You're still able to see that Neowise comet off in the northern sky. It's getting fainter by the day though. It won't be visible for much longer. And then elements of the Milky Way galaxy straight overhead. It's absolutely a great place to look at the night sky.
Private house.
Hindi yung crater. Yung red. Ayun, laki ah. Mayroon pang ano. Yung kulay red.
We've just about run out of fuel.
Yan na.
Need a couple of volunteers to get out and push.
Uh-oh.
No, of course not. We're slowing the boat down because there is something to see. So first look left, and then come back and look right. And off either side of the boat, you will see a straight, narrow cut-line swath running through the trees. This is the border, my friends. This is the border between Canada and the United States of America.
Yung sa line na to?
That line, that's the border right
It's the
there.
line?
Oh, yan.
It's the line for the US border?
Ay, yan. Ito yung side yung US. Ito yung Canada.
So off the right-hand
the
side
line
in
for the
particular,
US border.
right in the middle of the line, you'll notice two
Uh-oh.
survey markers.
There's a
A
marker for
concrete
US
aggregate
border.
marker in front and a silver-colored marker which is actually made of bronze back behind it. When those are lined up one in front of the other, that's the surveyor's perspective
line
on
for
true
US border,
49
guys.
degrees north latitude.
You see that? There's the line for US border.
And Captain Jeremy's going to take a minute and spin the boat around.
We're
We'll hop back and
back.
forth across the borderline for a second.
The border
Again,
line
giving everybody an
now.
opportunity, no matter which side of the boat you're seated on, to snap a photograph if you so
Yeah.
desire.
Ay, doon na yung US.
Oo. Yan, US na yun. Nakarating ka na ng US.
US na. US border lang.
This is one of the few places in the world that you could
Back
jump
to
back and
Canada.
forth across an international border and not get in trouble for it.
We're getting trouble too.
And in fact, I think this is one of the only borders you're going to be able to cross anytime soon, given what's going on all over the world.
Back in Canada now.
Yan ang border.
That's the border? Oh, US na yan.
Oo, US yung kabila. Yan, Canada.
US border. US yan. Ito yun yung Canada. Doon lalagpas
Yan yung guhit na yan.
Oo, kulit na. Sinasabi.
Pupunta pa tayo doon. Bawal.
So welcome to Glacier National Park, in the state of Montana, USA.
Montana, USA.
Do you have any Canadians on board? Maybe the question should be, do we have any Americans on board? You better not put your hand up. They'll turf you overboard with a swim back. Easy border crossing, and that all has to do with the fact that
Ayan
we're in
po,
this
sa US border
international peace
kami.
park. A
US
concept that came
border.
about in the late 1920s thanks to the efforts of Rotary International. The Rotarians of Alberta and Montana lobbying both Canadian and US federal governments, arguing that nature sees no boundaries, why should we? An excellent conservation mentality to have.
US na yan.
Oh, nandito na ako sa
And
Yay!
so
Nasa
thanks to
US
the
kami.
efforts of Rotary International, in
naman tayo
late
patapos
May,
Nasa US
early June
border.
of 1932, legislation was ratified by both
Nasa US
countries,
border daw po kami.
making this the world's first international peace park, a symbol of goodwill and friendship, collaboration and strong working relationship between the two countries.
Nakamas naman tayo. Titignan ko lang.
The two parks work very closely together
Isang oras na
on
yun.
almost all issues.
Isang oras.
Everything from research projects, studying wildlife population movements, keeping an eye on invasive species, dealing with natural disasters like forest fires. And we also are very proud to be arguably the best role model for the international community as far as how an international peace park should function.
Ikot na siya.
So prior to the COVID-19 outbreak
Doon po
this
ang
year,
US border.
on a normal year here in the national park, I meet people almost every year
Yun ang
from all over the
US.
world. Some people that are biologists and conservationists, others that are in politics, that would come here to Waterton, to Glacier, touring both sides of the International Peace Park, talking to both park administrations, learning about best practices, in an attempt to take that knowledge and that information home with them to eventually work towards establishing an International Peace Park elsewhere.
Layo, oh. Doon pa, oh. US. Iikot na tayo eh. May ikot na siya. Ah.
Cross back over the lake. One more time, head back towards the east shore.
Doon yung US.
And another great view looking south. You can see the far south end of the lake. And if you've got keen eyes, you'll pick out a couple of buildings there on the shoreline. That's the Goat Hunt Ranger Station. Now, Goat Hunt Ranger Station officially closed this year. And that's out of respect for the fact that the Blackfeet tribe down in Montana, which has land right along the eastern boundary of Glacier National Park, the Blackfeet said they did not want any visitors, any travelers, anybody coming onto their land. And so out of respect for their wishes, Glacier National Park decided they would leave the whole east side of Glacier Park closed this year. They wouldn't allow anybody to access it, and subsequently, Goat Hunt was lumped into that category of all the fixtures, the areas that were closed. And so that's the reason we're not permitted to go all the way to the end of the lake.
Lala, yun ang US eh.
That is a closure just for the season, as far as I understand it.
Yun ng bundok. Ng lake.
Hopefully we'll return
Yun
to
ang US.
some semblance of normalcy for next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully at that point, Goat Hunt will reopen. Goat Hunt is a gateway to all of Glacier National Park. There's no road access to Goat Hunt, keep in mind. The only way to get there is by this boat, normally, or various hiking trail systems. A number of different hiking routes leave Goat Hunt Ranger Station heading in all different directions.
Yan po yung bundok ng Canada. Pagdating dito, yan bundok ng US. Ayan po, yan US yan, mountain ng US. Then eto yung bundok ng Canada. Ayan.
Meron sa YouTube. Meron na.
Alin? Ayan oh. Sa Canada po yan part. Yan ay sa US. Yan ang US, yung bundok dyan. Yan, US.
Got a good question here. Are there any rules or regulations about using pleasure craft, small speedboats on this lake? Absolutely. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. But I will comment one more time that we're about to cross the border. So if you want one more photograph being on the east side of the lake, here it is. Just one survey marker on this side of the lake, however. Or at least down at lake level, I should say. We follow that line up to the top of the ridge, and I can see it today. The second survey marker is right up at the top of the mountain ridge at the top of the line. Little white dot way up there.
Ayun. Oh, okay.
And just like that, we're back in Canada, eh?
We're back in Canada.
We're gonna go back to saying A after every sentence now.
Okay.
So yes, going back to your question about pleasure craft speedboats on this lake, there are a number of rules and regulations. First and foremost is there is a quarantine process that must be followed because of our concern over aquatic invasive species. It was now 4 years ago that further south in Montana, a place called the Tiber Reservoir, they detected these freshwater mussels, these zebra and quagga mussels, an invasive species that originated in Eastern Europe, and it was brought over to the Great Lakes of North America in the ballast water of big freighters and tankers, and inadvertently released into the Great Lakes, and has slowly been spreading from one water body to the next all across the continent since the 1980s. And all of a sudden, when it was found in Tiber Reservoir, that's only a short 4-hour drive away from here,
4 hours driving.
we became very concerned. And so Parks Canada effectively closed this lake immediately at that point to all boat traffic. And for the next 2.5, almost 3 full years, small pleasure craft were not allowed on this lake. Parks Canada worked with a local committee that was commissioned by the municipal government in Waterton town site. And they worked together to create the most appropriate system possible to allow boats back on this lake, but in such a way that it would do its best to prevent the spread of those mussels to this waterway. And so what did we find? Well, based on the research, the scientific evidence studying these mussels stated that generally those mussels cannot survive out of water for a time period of greater than 30 days. And so here in Waterton, we took it a step further and we said we're going to make it 90 days. So any person, any boat owner that wants to bring their boat to this lake, they have to bring their boat to the Waterton Marina and get a steel cable on the boat. Seal the boat to the trailer, which will prevent you from launching your boat in another lake and taking it out on another lake. And it has to sit for at least 90 days. We keep track of the serial number on that particular seal. And then after 90 days, you can bring your boat back to the marina, and if the seal looks like it is undisturbed, we'll remove that seal and allow you to launch. And when I say we, I mean this company, Waterton Shoreline Cruises. One of its responsibilities in its concession with Parks Canada to operate on the lake is to now operate the boat launch ramp right in the marina. So that's the major restriction. And so what most people do, most of these boaters are the local cabin owners that live and have cabins in the Waterton town site. And so what they often do is they will bring their boat at the end of the summer in September and get that seal put on. And then they simply park it and let it sit all winter, and then they launch in the spring. And this is the only lake that boat will go on all year long. Now, as far as being able to go back and forth across the border between Canada and the US, no real regulations or restrictions on where you can or can't go on the lake. Keeping in mind that US Homeland Security does have a presence here. You probably noticed the boat back in the marina in front of the ticket office, US Border Patrol. And they do frequently and randomly patrol this lake, and any boats that are on the south half of the lake in the United States, Border Patrol can come up to them and check them. They are supposed to carry their passports with them. If you touch shore, if you're just cruising around on the lake, and as long as you don't pull up on a beach or a dock somewhere south of the border, no issues. But the moment you pull your boat up on the beach and step on shore, you're supposed to have your passport. You're expected to have already previously cleared customs.
Kailangan ng passport.
Now, as far as fishing, few rules and regulations governing the fishing season, but fishing is permitted here in the national park. All told, 24 different species of fish found here in Waterton. Most of those are different variety of trout. Lake trout being the dominant species. Some of the trout species, like the rainbows, some of the cutthroats, eastern brook trout, introduced artificially. Parks Canada actually had a fish hatchery and a fish stocking program right in the Waterton town site from 1928 until about 1971-72. And so this lake and all the little alpine lakes, like that Crick Lake I mentioned earlier, were all stocked artificially in the past. And so you need a National Parks fishing license to come out and fish the waters here. Catch limit of 2 fish per fishing permit can be caught and kept per day. Fishing only during daylight hours as long as the sun is above the horizon. Barbless hooks, no live bait, no artificial bait, no chemical attractants, nothing of that sort. And being such a cold, deep, glacier-fed lake, most of the species, like the trout, are all way down deep. So you need a whole lot of luck on your side. You need some money. You need all the toys. You need a boat with the downriggers, the depth gauge, the fish finder, all the gadgets to get out there and really have any luck at trying to catch fish.
Wala, lula dito. Ay, malamig pa dito.
Lumot na po.
Nalumot na. Lobat na ako.
Lumot ka na.
Naka-video na ako. Naka-live. Ang taas oh. Aray. Napagod na yung nagsasalita.
Dapat ikaw ang announcer dyan eh.
Ano na mo, land of the Philippines? We're here in the land of the Philippines. Ang daming hayop dyan, oh, daming forest. Oh. Ang taas ng bundok.
Just that one where we left boat up.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Ayaw.
Babay na naman.
Ayaw ko yan. At, ay, bye-bye po. Lobat na. Bye-bye. 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 We're here for Waterton. Bye-bye. Share mo. Hi guys, we're here in Waterton. It's on a small town here in Canada.
Ayun po, sa'yo.
For sale yung bahay, 1 million. Mahal bahay dyan, oh. Kung sana pwede mo parentahan. Yan po ang bahay dito. Nagpunta pala guys, Tamara, kaninang lang tayo, no? Yan. Yan na po ang dito nyo.
Rose Trail.
Napakaliit na town.
Ano yung Gagabos?
Ha?
Gagabos? Town site administration office. Ito na yung munisipyo nila.
Yan, ang liit. Post office yata yun eh. Ito ba yun? Wala naman tao. Yan, ang view. Dito sa Waterton Village. Yan lang po. Restaurant. Closed na. Yan. Yan lang po. Papasyal ko kayo. Ano yan? Hotel? Ay, bahayan din, no? Ah, parang hotel. Yan. Yan po. Papasyal ko kayo dito sa Waterton. Napakaliit lang po na town. Napakahirap puntahan, malayo. Ayan. Sumasara. Ano naman to, bahay? Ito pala yung Deer Mountain Motel. Yeah. We're just walking. 8:30 na ba? 8:30 p.m. Sulitin ang gabi. Bukas uuwi na. Back to reality. Yan po yung mga motel. Dito. Ayan po ang mga hotel. Yan lang. Yung mga kabahayan dito. Maliit lang po. Yan.
Ano yung libutin ka nung maglalakad ka lang?
Saglit nyo lang libutin. Makalibot nyo na ang Waterton. Ganyan lang po ang bahay dito.
Oops.
Uy! Uy, tatawid. Nagulat ako. Ayan lang po. Ay, paparking pala sila dito. Yan. Lakad-lakad kami. Ayan na po. Ayan, cute nito. Maliit lang siya pero ang cute ah. Kaya sa labas lang yung parking niya talaga. Ayan. Maliit na bahay. Pero makute siya. Ayan. Ayan po siya. Maliit na town. Yun na pinakadulo niya. Yun. Yan.
Diyan tayo galing eh. Diyan tayo pumasok eh.
Yung kanina? Diyan ba tayo?
Oo.
Dyan din tayo lalabas. Ay.
Ay, sana ibang malabas pa ka dun sa isang pinapalabas. Ay, nandun na sa US na tayo.
Hello po. We're just continue po. Ay. Yan.